This show is part of the HeadStuff Podcast Network. Today's guest has one of the more interesting CVs that I've come across. She is a solicitor working in domestic violence law by day, and she is a stand-up comedian by night, which gives her a fairly unique perspective on dating and relationships. If you were working on domestic violence cases day in, day out, surely it would leave you fairly cynical about love, and somehow she has managed, obviously, to hold on to her sense of humour. And she's been through a few interesting relationship experiences herself, including dating a Dublin actor who turned out to be seeing other women behind her back, which led to a surprising friendship. Every cloud and all that. We are chatting through bad relationships, Jennie's law, red flags, coercive control and illegal information that you should know about, and how working with people at some of the toughest moments in their lives has shaped the way that she views relationships. Here is Justine Halpin. Justine, thank you so much. You are very welcome.
Thanks for having me.
This is an interesting one because you have these like two sides of you, and it's like, you know, solicitor by day working on kind of domestic violence and family law and stuff, and then comedian by night. So this is like, this podcast episode is going to be chopped in half. Two very different themes going on here. Like, how did you get into these two different worlds?
Okay, so I don't know why I became a solicitor. No, I kind of do. Like, it's a really, it's a really well-respected career.
Oh, yeah.
I really enjoyed the theory of law when I was in college. So I did the Trinity Access program. I had no idea what I was going to do in college. And in that, I did like an intro to law module. And then I was like, that's it.
That's what you want to do.
Go ahead and follow that. But it was more the theory of it. I loved the fact that like something happened 100 years ago and that's why we have this law now. I loved like how that all related in society. And yeah, like I was like, it's a really, you know, well-respected career. If you tell people you're a solicitor, they were like, oh, like, you know,
look at her.
Make my mom proud. But like, there's always been a love of comedy and kind of acting the maggot in me. But I was like, okay, I need to get this qualification under the belt. And I still like, you know, want to do it as a job and as a career. But
how long ago has it been since you qualified?
I qualified at the very start of 2025.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Yeah. So a year and a bit.
Yeah. Fair play.
But I did take a break the minute I qualified and did comedy full time and went travelling and only went back to work a couple of months ago.
How did the comedy come about? Like getting up on stage just out of nowhere, just like, fuck it, I'll go for it.
No. So, no. I did the Try Channel. So I started the Try Channel, I think, in, I'm going to say 2016. Like, that was a long time ago.
Wow, yeah.
It was a different channel before that. And then it became Try Channel in like 2018. So I've been doing that sort of stuff for like 10 years. And a load of people on that channel were comedians. So we would hang out afterwards. I would go to their gigs and I'd be like, oh my God, I love this. I'd love to do that. But I just never had the nerve. Like, I used to think these people were geniuses. I'd be like, how did you even think of that? Oh my God. And I'd be so in awe of my friends. Like, and then, but yeah, it's absolutely like a horrifically terrifying thing to do. It's so vulnerable that I was like, right, I need something to kind of give me a kick in the arse to make me do it because I'm not going to do that myself. So when I was in Blackhall, which is like law school, basically, you get a traineeship is what they call it, or a training contract. And a firm sends you to Blackhall where you go to law school and you go to like all your practical lectures. So like all your advocacy, all your different things that you're going to use in practice to be a solicitor. And I had loads of free time. So there was a course in Bow Street Acting Academy, like how to be a stand-up comedian in 10 weeks.
Was it? Is that what it's called?
Something like that. Yeah. Like stand-up comedy
10
course.
weeks and you did it and that was it?
Yeah. And then it was a 5-minute gig at the end. So everyone had to get a 5-minute set at the end. And then I just never stopped.
Was there not ever any thought going through your mind that like, I'm going to be taken less seriously as a solicitor because I do stand-up comedy?
100%.
Yeah.
Oh my God, 100%, yeah. So I was still in my traineeship when I was doing that stuff. And when I went back to work, I still had like a year left of my traineeship. And I had a couple of like gigs under my belt at this stage. I didn't really tell anyone for ages. And I told my colleagues, like my friends in work and stuff, but I was like, oh my God, I don't want the partners to hear about this. I don't want anyone to know about it. And then like, obviously word spreads and obviously it's a mad thing to do. So, you know, people were talking about it, but one of the office managers came up to me and she was like, would you do a little bit of that at the Christmas party? And I was like,
oh my God.
absolutely not.
Yeah, I was thinking you were going to say absolutely not, but like what a buzz though that she was just like, cool.
But it has hindered me. Like when I was on the job search last year, a job actually turned me down when they knew I did stand up.
Stop, really?
Yeah, they represented big clients, you know, big kind of government clients, and they were just really concerned about,
The optics of having
I don't know, like, I know comedians look like they can say the most mad stuff on stage, but an awful lot of the stuff is very well planned out, like, for the most part.
Yeah.
And I think they just were really concerned that I would say something unhinged that would damage their firm and damage their brand. So it definitely is a weird thing to put together, and it definitely doesn't work sometimes. But
like even now with this, like the Dating Orange and the things that I say online, like my actual job, it would be quite corporate.
okay.
And I wouldn't want them to find out. I don't think there would be a massive issue, but like, yeah, I still, like, I kind of understand that I definitely wouldn't want my real job to find out
Yeah.
how I go on the internet. And I see you were probably not even going saying half the shit. Do you know, as in
No.
like I'm just there cursing and I'm like, look at this dirty bastard or whatever.
Yeah.
But like you obviously would have planned out sets and whatever. Like,
Yeah, but like a lot of it would be like talking about getting sex education from the Catholic nuns growing up. It would talk about my own love life. It would talk about stuff that like that I would never dream of saying in a natural conversation with a colleague. So it is kind of vulnerable and different in that sense. You're like, oh, I don't want you to know about that, but I'll say to a room of 100 strangers. You know? But yeah.
You have this like your own dating life. How has that been going?
That has been complicated. I'm actually in a really nice relationship now and have been for a couple of years.
Oh, nice.
But before that, it was definitely a bit messy. So I have been really lucky that any long-term relationship I've been in has actually been quite nice. And when they're my boyfriend, they're really lovely. They just don't work out because you grow apart or like whatever.
Okay.
But I've noticed that when I'm single and I'm on the dating scene and you're like figuring things out, that's when you meet the worst ones, I feel.
Yes. Have you done much dates? Like, have you been single? Would there be good stints of being single in between?
Yeah. And like going on loads of first dates. I love a first date. Don't get me wrong. Like I really do. I love the thought of meeting a stranger, which sounds so bad. But I do. It's fun.
What would you do? Pints?
Yeah.
Walk? Coffee?
Pints, coffee, walk. Yeah. That sort of stuff. I remember actually meeting this guy. I think it was off Tinder. And we went for a drink in one of the pubs on Drury Street. I can't remember the name of it. But I hadn't arrived yet. And I was like walking over and he's like, do you want me to get you a drink? And I was like, absolutely not. I'll get that myself. And it was only when I got there, he was like, oh my God, I didn't even think. Like, I'm a stranger off the internet. Of course you're not going to let me be in control of your drink. And I was like,
yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Fair
At
play.
least he thought about that much, that far. But yeah, no, the dating life, there was a couple of years ago. I ended up dating an Irish actor.
Oh.
And he's
How
not,
well known now, you know?
no, he's not very well known at all. But like,
He'd be in things that we probably would have seen. Films.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I think if I was to say his name, which I'm not going to do, but I think if I was to say his name, you'd be like, huh?
Okay.
But if I was like, oh, he was in ABCD, you'd be like, I did see that.
yes.
You know, that sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of how I felt about it as well. I was a bit like, oh, this is exciting. I've seen that movie. Like, oh.
Did you meet him online?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tinder. And I'm such a sucker for this stuff. But he had a picture of himself on some sort of red carpet. So immediately I was like, cha-ching.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? I was like, who's this famous guy? Oh my God. But I had actually been an extra in one of the movies that he was in.
Oh.
So I was like, this doesn't feel too weird. We can talk about, obviously I'm not an actor. He would have far more experience in that industry. But I was like, we can talk about
You
these
understand how it kind of goes, yeah.
Or I could even be like, remember that day with that director? Like, well, I could have some sort of common ground. I don't know. But now when I said, like, it wasn't that deep. It wasn't that serious. But it was the first person I dated after like a 4-year relationship. So I think I definitely deeped it a little bit too much in my own head. Do you know, that sort of way? So I will give him credit for that. That like it was probably my fault. But like he wasn't that nice of a guy. But there was something in me that was like, I'll change him. I'll get him, you know? And we went for our first date and he didn't drink, which is fine. But I was so nervous that I drank. Because I was like, I haven't dated anyone in yonks. Like I need to calm the nerves here. So I had about 3-4 glasses of wine. I was a little bit cross-eyed. But towards the end of the date, I just looked at him and I was like, you know, you haven't asked me one question about myself.
Yeah,
and he hadn't, right?
Dead right.
And
for you saying it. Like,
but that was the Dutch courage. Like, I think I was trying to be this like polite lady like girl, and then actually I was like, oh, sorry, actually, let me tell you, you haven't asked me one question. And so he went, oh, well, like, what are you into then? And I was like, I don't know, women's rights. I was like, that's not a natural question. I was like, you're just so like, he actually said to me at one stage, like, I think he had notions about being famous as well, like, or like semi.
Yeah, that you're kind of lucky to be there with him. He doesn't even have to bother his hole to make effort here.
Exactly, yeah. And he made this joke about something like, what would you do? It's actually so embarrassing, and I can't believe I went on a second date after he said this. But he goes, what would you do if there was like a hidden camera around here and you were all like on a dating show? What would you do? And I was like, okay, you absolute like egomaniac. Like,
what would I do? If it was, what would I do? Like, that's like, such a bizarre. I wouldn't really be doing anything. Like, if I was on a hidden. Are we meant to be doing something wild? What is he looking for?
I don't know. I think he just was like trying to convince me that he was like in this famous lifestyle for so much that could be a possibility or something. And like, how would you handle? Like, you know what I mean? He was just so full of his own shite. Like, but anyway, I dated him for about 2 months. Right, but
were you looking to be BF and GF? Were you thinking like?
I don't know what I was looking for. I honestly don't, because I was out of something that was really long, and I don't know what I was looking for, to be truthful.
Yeah,
I think I was a very like relationship gal at the time, so maybe, possibly, but it was just naivety on my part.
When I look back, actually, I was after coming out of a 5.5-year relationship, and after a couple of months, I ended up getting in a 2-month situationship. But at the time, I didn't know it was a situationship. Yeah. I thought that he was going to be my boyfriend. And when I look back at him now, I think, God, he was so shite. Like, he was a nice enough fella, but he would only go to the pub.
Yeah.
We would never do anything else.
Yeah.
And I look back now and I'm like, Jesus, that is so sad for you that you thought you wanted that man to be your boyfriend. And he was just like...
It's like, have some standards, girl.
He didn't drive. He didn't drive. He lived at home with his parents, and he used to go up to the top of Bray Head and smoke a joint.
Oh, lovely.
In the evenings. What's wrong with me?
But like, I don't know. I think we romanticize these people and make these ideas up in our head about what they could and should be.
Yeah.
I know I do that. I fall in love with potential.
Did you think that he was better than your ex?
My ex was a really good guy.
Well, then no, so he wasn't better.
No, he wasn't in that sense, but he was more interesting and more creative and more kind of witty and funny, and I think that's what attracted me to him. And also, he was a bit of an arsehole, and I was a bit like, oh, I can make you not like nice to me. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
And I think I liked the fact that he was a bit of an egomaniac at the time, because I was like, oh, you think you're something? What is it then? I don't.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I just fell for it, like, and it's so pathetic. But we had a second date lined up, and he'd booked a table in Yamamori Izakaya. That's on just like
Georgia Street.
On Georgia Street.
Yeah.
And it was just at the kind of tail end of COVID when we could dine outside. And that's what we were doing, right? So all the tables were outside. I went out, bought a new outfit, bought new shoes for my little second date, right?
Bless you.
I know. But I just was like so excited to be dating somebody again, and like it was making me real giddy. And about an hour beforehand, he texted me saying, hey, not going to make it. I have to film something. Now, Devo, obviously, right? But I don't know what happened, but like I know when you film something, you don't get last minute callbacks like that. That's not how these things work. You don't have an hour. Like, you would have had way more notice than that. You know, that sort of way.
You would have been aware. Yeah.
So I was a little bit like,
something else is going on here.
This stinks to me a little bit, but I couldn't like...
I smell a rat.
I couldn't put my finger on what it was. Like, I had no idea. So I just had to kind of put it to the back of my mind. And part of me was like, am I just being paro? Like,
yeah.
Also, this man is not your boyfriend. He owes you nothing.
Was there any conversations about being exclusive or anything like this? It was just 2 months of dating. What number date? This was the only date number?
This was date number 2.
2. Okay,
so
very good.
I continued like dating him. And when I say that, it was like, it was still kind of the tail end of COVID. So I can't say like we did amazing things, because we didn't, because we couldn't really, you know. But it was like coffee and walks. And then eventually he came over to my house for wine. Things got a little bit sexy, you know. And immediately then, after that happened, he was like, I have a migraine, I have to go home. And I was a bit like, oh God.
After you got sexy.
Yeah.
He has a migraine all of a sudden.
Right.
He didn't have it beforehand,
that's usually what I say beforehand.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But this happened and I was like, oh shit. And like, I'm not the sort of person to sleep around. I'm not the sort of person to like do that with someone I don't really like. So I was like, oh God, like it made me feel like really vulnerable and kind of used, I guess, you know. Yeah. So he skips out and I was a bit like, oh shit, like that's... And then the text message communication like...
Dropped off a cliff.
Not dropped off a cliff, but I'd say definitely is hanging his feet off the cliff, you know. I'm being breadcrumbed to fuck, you know. And I was like, And he would do this thing and, oh, this is actually so pathetic on my part. And when I think about it, like, it's so sad for a little, like, 27-year-old Justine. But he didn't have any social media. So to get his attention, I would change my WhatsApp picture.
Oh. Oh my God. Desperation.
But like,
I know.
That's like what I was at. Like, it was pathetic. But like, I can look back at it now and laugh and be like, I would never do that again.
I'm sure I've been there myself. I know what you're talking about.
And like, it's so, but like the things we do, like, ridiculous,
Hilarious.
right? But it would work. He'd text me, go, you look lovely
Nice
in your
picture.
profile.
Yeah.
And I'm
You're like, yes.
yes. Right. I'll honestly, like a new selfie every week, you know. But
Stop.
he would be like, oh, like new selfie or whatever. And then again, but like you'd only get like 3 or 4 texts out of him and then it would just drop off a cliff. But that kind of breadcrumbing leaves you like wanting something
more, yeah.
There was never like a good
Keeping
night.
you going, yeah.
There was never like, oh, listen, I have to go, I'll chat to you later. There was never any of that. It would just be like, done. So I was like, ugh, like, what is this? So eventually I said to him, look, our communication has like really fumbled since we got sexy. I'm not going to allow myself to be treated like that. Good luck.
Good.
I was like, fine. But I will say I was like kind of upset about that.
Yes.
Because I was like, I think if I'd have known that that's how that was going to end up, I wouldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt really vulnerable about it. And I was like, ugh. So in a really weird, strange sequence of events, a girl I know posted this meme about men ghosting people. And I messaged her and I was like, funnily enough, that actually happened to me today and I had to cut things off. And we got chatting about men and things that do that. And I said to her, funny you should say that, you might know who he is, because she was asking who I was dating. So I sent her a picture of him. And she went, Justine, he has been sleeping with my housemate for the last 6 months.
Oh,
or 6
stop.
weeks.
6
Sorry,
weeks.
6 weeks. So it was about literally the same amount of time that we were dating. So I was like, what? So I text the girl and I was like, can you tell me your housemate's name? Like, who is this girl? I need to contact her. What the hell? So I messaged her on Instagram and I was like, hey, I'm not coming to you with like any beef whatsoever.
Yeah.
Not my crack at all.
Girl's girl.
At all. And I was like, but I think we need to like have a phone call. So I was like, gave her my number. I was like, we need to compare diaries, like what's going on. So she was obviously like immediately upset as well. She was like, fucking bastard.
She probably thought it was going somewhere as well. Like, you know, you both thought it was.
I don't know. I think he was feeding her. He was a lot nicer to her than he was to me.
Oh.
From the way I understood it to be. Like, I think he was feeding her a little bit more hope than he was me.
Right, okay.
But I think I was a bit of a bitch to him. Like, you're not asking me any questions and who do you think you are? But that was my like stupid way of flirting at the time. I didn't know what it was. But like, so we compared diaries and she said, did you go out with him last Sunday? Or like this Sunday, whatever date it was. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, oh, I went out with him the following Monday. And he told me he went out on a date last night with a girl who was a bitch.
Oh.
That was me. And I was like, well, at least he took that much from it. I was like, right, fuck
great.
it. But me and that girl are like still really good friends.
That is cute.
Yeah,
That is lovely. Men are mental. Like, for him, he was having sex with her, but he only had sex with you the once, was it? What was it? That poor girl.
Yeah, I know.
So he was going, and God knows who else was involved. And then he was going over, like, he'd left her, and then, like, within the next couple of days, went over to you. Like, what's wrong with you?
Well, this is it. Like, so we were comparing diaries, and the night that he was in my house, she was like, oh my God, I asked to see him that night, and he told me he had a migraine.
Oh, hilarious. Migraine.
Migraine was the
Number
go-to.
one, yeah.
And funny, I've never used that excuse, but it's quite an easy one, isn't it? Like, oh, it just came on severe, like, oh.
Like, geez, you need to go to a hospital. Like, you're getting them an awful lot, aren't you?
Sorry, no, he told me he went to hospital and all.
With the migraines?
Yeah.
Ah, stop. God, they're mental, aren't they?
This
The
is
lies.
madness. But eventually, so me and that girl teamed up, compared diaries, and I text him because the night that he cancelled the Yamamori sushi with me, he took her to that table.
No way.
Yeah, right. So,
oh my God.
yeah. And it's so weird. Like, I always value like a woman's intuition. I think when you have like a feeling in your gut, you should really follow it. But I was living in the city centre at the time. And I remember thinking, walk past Yamamori, walk past Yamamori.
You should have. And you didn't.
And I didn't, because I was like, oh my God, you're a psycho. Like, don't.
That would have been fantastic. Imagine
Wouldn't
walking by.
it?
What a sly dog. So he booked that table for you, and then he decided, you know what?
Yeah.
Gonna swap her out now last minute.
Yeah.
Poor cunt's already after buying new shoes. Gonna swap her out last minute. Put in this other girl. I wish she walked by.
It's one of those things that I regret so much in my life, because it would have ended then and there. And I'd have been like, okay, you absolute snake. Good luck.
Imagine you were that girl sitting down and another girl walked by and was just like, what is this? You told me that you had a migraine and you weren't... Or you
filming
were
something
filming
or
something
yeah.
and that you couldn't come to this booking.
Yeah.
Imagine the girl.
You'd be
She's like,
sick, wouldn't you?
I'm leaving.
But I would have not had any issue with her. I'd have been like,
No, I know, yeah.
sorry, can you just move back your chair? I'm going to fuck this drink over here. Like,
oh, what a dirty dog.
I know, yeah.
Between working in, say, comedy and working in, maybe just tell us maybe a bit more about the specifics of what you would work in, because I'm sure working in domestic violence and things like that would obviously kind of put a dampener on how you view like love and relationships and dating and stuff.
It does and it doesn't, because I think when you see the things that people do to each other, as I say, like I'm in a really happy relationship now, I have been for the last 3 years, it actually makes me value that so much more, because I see what people do to each other, and whether it be like physical, mental, emotional types abuse, I just go home and I'm like, all you do is snore sometimes. And you're so, like,
I know.
You're so kind, and you're so, like, you would think that it would warp your head a little bit to be like, oh my God, men are awful and da-da-da-da. I think it helps you reevaluate your own stuff at the same time, but it also might help you like recognise, say if me and Danny were to break up tomorrow and I was to get into a new relationship, it might help you recognise things a little bit earlier.
When you're going out dating and then you're seeing certain behaviours in somebody, like you would definitely be aware, I suppose, of more red flags and things like that would come up.
I think so, yeah. And I think like some red flags to kind of look out for would be a short temper. So like short temper, somebody raising their voice at you really quickly. Because like, obviously we're talking about like domestic abuse and like something that, Jesus, hopefully wouldn't lead to some sort of femicide or whatever, but it never starts like that. It doesn't start with, for the most part, people getting hit or people getting beaten or whatever.
Yeah.
It starts small, and it starts with mental and emotional abuse. So like somebody shouting, somebody threatening, somebody being controlling. Gaslighting is a big one as well. Like that sort of like, I never said that. I didn't do that. What are you so bothered for? That sort of stuff.
Yes, okay.
Would be like big red flags to me.
They're stepping into it. Like the first few weeks or months, generally people will always say that they onto something great. Like he was perfect. He was the perfect boyfriend. And then it all started to go a bit weird after that. And then before you know it, you're
in.
Caught.
Don't they say like it's usually 3 months that people can't really keep up the facade that much longer?
And then after that, yeah.
Yeah. And then you kind of
think
know.
they've done enough, probably. They have them, you know, that the woman is caught in it and she probably loves him now and he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. And like people like 3-4 months in do start to get like a little bit more emotionally involved. Like they're like, okay, I've been seeing this person fairly consistently. And they obviously have this idea of who that man or woman might be. So they're like, oh, like obviously I trust him. It's this, that and the other. So yeah, I'd kind of like, I think, as I say, if I was to get into a new relationship tomorrow and that person raised their voice at me, I'd be able to
gone. Well, good. No, it's a great way to be. There's so many people like, and I did, stuck with it for many years, like in a relationship and like just didn't leave.
No.
Like, and walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
And we got our dog together. We got a rescue dog. And then I remember like, you know, he was all excited about the dog at the start. She was a pup. And then he was in the sitting room watching the golf and I went in and said, do you want to bring her out? You go for a walk around? And then he was like, name. What did I tell you? I told you that the golf is on all day today. Do you just like not listen to me?
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay. Like this would happen all the time.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff. And then I stopped asking him to walk the dog. I would just go and walk the dog. By the end of it then, when he left, actually, he said he wanted to co-parent the dog.
You don't currently parent the dog.
Yeah, you know, you give the dog nothing. The dog doesn't even know who you are. Like, you fucking idiot. Anyway,
do you still have the dog now?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, she's great.
Not co-parented?
No, that very swiftly, he did try to co-parent, but then when he came over to the house to take her 2 separate occasions, I was like in my pajamas because it was like 11 o'clock in the morning or whatever on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And then I was like, there you go. Take her off there. And then he was like, are you not coming? As after I broke up with him and like kicked him out of the house.
So what did he think, like you were going to get back
He
together?
was trying to get back together, yeah. No.
Hold your hand.
It was the best thing I ever did, I tell you. Yeah. Fuck's sake. No, but like it's great. And there was red flags definitely at the start of that relationship, and I think that like you're so right there. If they start, you know, shouting or gaslighting and all these different things, like that's it. Like you need to get out while you're at the start. Another thing, coercive control.
Yeah.
Maybe explain to us what that is.
So coercive control is a form of controlling emotional abuse whereby somebody controls and intentionally controls like elements of your life. So they might control what you wear. They might control who you see your friends, whether you see your family. Religion's another big part of it as well. So they might do this by like putting shame on you, like, oh, what are you wearing that for? Who are you dressing up for? Like if you like just do your hair and makeup and they're like, what are you making such an effort for?
Yes,
You're just going into the office or you're doing whatever. You're just going out with the girls. Like, do you want men to be looking at you? Like that is a form of coercive control. They'll put guilt and shame on you. Like an awful lot of the time, like they'd be like, oh, don't spend time with your friends this weekend. I'm so lonely all the time. I'm going to kill myself if you do that. Like that would be like a big thing of guilt, you know, and then you'd be like, oh, I can't leave this person, or I'm really suffering with my mental health. Don't leave me on my own. It sounds like they really need the help, but actually when you kind of look at it and take a step back, it is controlling
manipulation.
behavior.
They're manipulating
100%.
you into doing what they want.
So that is coercive control, and that is legislated for and is now under an act which I can't remember, but it is there is the Coercive Control Act, which
it wasn't recognised before.
Yeah.
And now it is recognised.
Yeah.
So if somebody's doing this stuff to you, you can bring them to court.
Yeah, you can bring them to court. And it's under, I think it's the Coercive Control Act. I need to double check that. Right. But like it could be loads of things from like, you know, financial abuse as well. And women often find themselves in situations like that because women have kids, they have to leave the workplace, they're dependent then on their partner. And, you know, I have women or had women come to me in work and tell me about this stuff whereby they'd be saying like, I need money to get a new outfit for this wedding or whatever it might be. And he'd be like, well, why? Do you want people looking at you? Like, why do you want to get a new dress? Like, and then he'd say, so well, sad. Yeah. And like, it's controlling behavior. And
I actually came across something on Facebook. I was on one of those like Facebook groups. I don't know if you're on them, like Maz on a mission or Maz on a rant and all these.
Mars on the rag.
Yeah, that's it. That's another one. But like she was talking about not getting enough money from her husband, like to get this weekly stipend or something like that. And then somebody else says he gives me €50 per day for Monday to Friday. And I was like, fucking hell. Like it's not even, what are you meant to do €50 a day? Like at least give a lump sum and like give her the independence to, you know, work on it all. But it's basically like he doesn't trust her
to not
blow. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, it makes me so sad. And women then having children and, you know, going through all of that and tearing and all the things that happen with, and then like raising the children, and then you don't work, you can't get your pension, and at the end of the day then you're begging for a bit of money off your fella
for
after
50 quid a day.
And then when you get to 50 then and he leaves you for somebody else and you have nothing, no work experience, no pension.
Yeah.
That depresses the shit out of me.
I know. And like women are quite vulnerable in society in that sense because we are the ones forced to leave the workforce and stuff like that. And then it just creates a whole economic like inequality. And you're left depending on your husband, and please God, he's a nice guy, you know?
No, yeah, please God, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's lots of people who got into relationships and he was a nice fella, and then he got to a certain age and then he's just like, oh, I'm not really in love with her anymore. Like she's in a very bad position now.
Yeah. And look, these things happen. Like you can get married and fall out of love with people, but it's the like, let's not financially screw over the other person. And like, I've heard of like husbands be like, well, you know, I've worked my whole life. You've been sitting at home with the kids. I'm going to take all the assets. I'm going to take all this. And it's like, well, no, I was at home with the kids, which allowed you to excel in your career.
Yes.
But they don't seem to
It's only
that.
money. Like, why didn't you stay at home and mind the children?
Yeah.
And let me go and excel in my career.
Yeah.
You didn't want to do that though.
Yeah.
You know?
Because it's a much harder job. It's 24/7. Like, it looks like you're at home drinking coffee, but you're absolutely not.
You never
and
know.
like, you often hear dads say the man goes away for a weekend or whatever, and the dads are in control of the house for the weekend with the kids. Like, oftentimes the man will come home and they'll be like, I will never say that you don't do anything again, or I'll never not value what you do in the home, because when you haven't been here for 2 days, I've been losing my mind.
Yeah,
it's
stressed
constant,
off
like,
your heads.
Yeah.
Another thing there recently, Jennie's law has been
approved.
Yeah,
Catherine Connolly signed it this week or last week. Yeah.
So that's a few months now, ever since that was, it takes an awful long time for all this shit to go through. It's a joke.
Yeah.
Like that should have been brought in years ago, and then it keeps kind of resurfacing. And then it was a kind of, I had done a podcast episode on it. Can't remember now. Was it late-ish last year, maybe October? Because it came back up again, and now takes ages again to get approved. It's a joke. But maybe just to explain briefly, I suppose, in layman's terms, what it does.
So Jennie's law is the Domestic Violence Register Act 2026. And what that does is if there is somebody who has been convicted of a form of domestic violence, they will be then placed on that register. So it allows people to be able to access the court system to look up whether their current or potential partners are part of that list.
So what are they looking up then? They're like name, date of birth situation?
I haven't actually accessed the system yet, so I don't entirely know how we look it up because it's very relative, like it's very new.
It's only from, it's not going to go back dating convictions. I don't think it is. I think it's only from
now forward.
Yeah.
So that's obviously a flaw in the system because that means anyone up to now is not going to be on the register. You know, there are a couple of flaws of the system. I do think it is a great start to have something, but it is just those men who have been criminally convicted. So the sort of work that I was doing was like safety orders, barring orders, protection orders. They're all civil matters. So any man who has one of those won't be on that register because he hasn't been criminally convicted.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. But that's obviously a big deal. Sorry, if a woman goes and she gets, there's 3 different types of orders: safety, barring, protection.
So there's a barring and a safety, and the protection is the interim order before either of those 2 things are granted.
Right. Okay, I get you. But if a woman has gotten this, she's gone to court, and the judge had said, you are at risk from this man, so I'm going to give you it. Mm-hmm. Surely that's enough. That like the judge has thought that man was dangerous enough. Like surely he should be on a register somewhere so other women can be like, wow, he's bad. Yeah. Some woman had to get protection against him.
Yeah. Now, like you could then say have men argue on the flip point of that because those applications are made ex parte. So what that means is they're made with like no solicitors present or anything like that, and the defendant's not present either. So the women go in, they fill out their form, they sometimes back it up with evidence, and they go in and speak to the judge, and they get a protection order granted in the interim. So the protection order then might be in place for a couple of months until they have the full hearing. Okay. So that's when the solicitors and stuff come in, and we'll have to defend or, you know, whatever that case. And you could argue, and I like, sure she can go in and say anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's why. That's what they would say. Yeah. So I do understand why when someone has a protection order against them, why they wouldn't go on that register, because there would be the very small risk that she could go in and say anything. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case, but I just mean that would be a big thing.
The protection order, but the other 2 then are after the hearing.
After the hearing.
What's the difference between barring and safety?
So a safety order is an order that is made under the Domestic Violence Act for up to 5 years. Okay. So what that does is it prevents the defendant from threatening or using violence against the other person, from besetting or stalking their place where they live or where they work, and for communicating with them in any way or in any kind of violent way. So usually if there's parties with the children that have a safety order between them, they need to communicate somehow because they're co-parenting. Right. But it will just be like communicating in a non kind of threatening way. Okay. And then you can get that for up to 5 years. And if you have one of those granted then, and then say the ex-partner does stalk your house, he does shout at you, he does threaten you, he does hit you, he does whatever, you can then ring the guards and have him brought to the CCJ and then have him criminally convicted.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it goes from the civil courts into the criminal courts. But the first step is a safety and barring order. And then a barring order, you need to be like in an intimate relationship for a safety order.
Okay.
So you can be...
See, a barring order could be against your father or your brother or a friend.
Yes, that's all. But they could be... Sorry, so a safety can be intimate relationship or your father or your brother.
Right, okay.
But there has to be some level of closeness, because then past that, it's just a civil restraining order, and that's a different thing altogether.
Yes, okay.
So when I say, like intimate, it could be family, it could be...
Oh, right, yeah, okay. Not only romantic.
Yeah. And then a barring order is when you live together and you're having somebody removed from the house. So it's the same layout, but you have to have them removed from the house, and you need to get the barring order against them in order for them to leave, because they're no longer safe to be in the house. And that can be up to 3 years.
So you would deal with these kind of things a good bit in your job as well?
Yeah.
And I thought that you, without going into specifics, I suppose, on cases or anything like that, but I thought when you were working with domestic violence, I had assumed that you were just working with the women, or, you know, and I'm just generalising here, that generally it's the man against the woman, because that is how the stats go. generally, you know, but
Statistically,
yeah. And I'm sure there is a few of them that go the other way as well. But I thought that you were like defending the victims basically, and that's not the case.
No.
You don't know what you're going to get.
No. So I was in a firm of solicitors whereby I didn't really have a choice about my clients, really. So I would just be handed files and they'd be like, they're the people you're representing today. So...
Oh my God, and you could get anybody. Don't, and you know that, oh no, this person is not a good man. And that you probably, but you still have to do your job. You have to, everybody deserves a, what did you say?
Fair trial.
Fair trial.
Or representation.
Oh, stop, I couldn't do it. I couldn't, you wouldn't be getting a fair trial off me.
It is, no, but like, you know, it's hard to advise in those circumstances. Like I've definitely had men that I've sat down with and I would look at their applicant's statement. And I'd be like, did you do this? And I've had men sit in front of me and be like, yeah.
Right, okay.
And I've also had men sit in front of me and be like, no, absolutely not. And obviously I would have more faith in defending that. Because I'm like, okay, well look, I have to take you at your word. And I don't think men are worse than women. Like, sorry, statistically, yes. But like, I do think everyone deserves to be heard in that sense. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, if you're telling me no, I'll put that argument forward and we'll talk about it. And we'll argue that out in court. But I then have had people sit in front of me, oh no, I did do that.
And would you have instances where like he would say, no, I didn't do that. And, you know, the woman's after saying he's after doing something terrible. And then it does come out that actually he hadn't done anything at all. Like, would that be, like, would it happen that often?
I don't think it would happen that nothing has happened. I'd say sometimes they both give as good as each other.
Okay. Well,
and it could be a mutually abusive situation or a mutually toxic situation.
What kind of things? Is it specifically domestic violence that you work in?
It was, yeah. Domestic violence, custody and access applications for children and maintenance applications.
Yeah, tough going.
Yeah.
Tough going every day. I'm working on that kind of stuff. Jesus.
4 or 5 clients a day. Very heavy.
It is heavy.
Yeah.
And tell me about you had a few different laws that, you know, would be specific, I suppose, to dating or relationships with that. Another one that I'd never heard about, Romeo and Juliet?
Romeo and Juliet. I did a programme called Street Law and it was to TY students.
Wow.
And we would go into deaf schools and kind of underprivileged schools and be like, you can be lawyers too. And I learned about this. The Romeo and Juliet law. That's kind of like, I guess, a colloquial term for it. But it's basically like the close in age exception for teenagers having sex.
Sorry, who's allowed to have sex? What age are we allowed to write at? 17, is it? 17,
yeah.
Such a random age. 17, not even 18.
So Irish legislation does not have a comprehensive Romeo and Juliet law. However, the Criminal Law Sexual Offences Act does feature a special defence of peer consent in specific limited situations for older children. So I think this would come under the umbrella where our age of consent is 17. But if you've got two 16-year-olds who've slept together, they could, like, so say if one of them was going to come for the other one for statutory rape, they could be like...
you can do that?
Yeah.
A 16-year-old can come for another 16-year-old even though they're both underage?
Well, their parents probably would on their behalf. If
that's insane. I never do that. Yeah. I thought it's only statutory rape if one person is over the legal age.
Or maybe one person 17 and one person 16. They'd be like,
okay. Yeah,
but they could have the like, well, we're both teenagers and there's like a very small age gap here.
That's not something that, well, you wouldn't be dealing with that.
No. Thank God.
Right, yeah.
No. That would be in the CCJ, so that'd be criminal court stuff.
Okay,
that wouldn't be a civil matter. Like, yeah. So.
And when you were going around the schools,
yeah, like
how did you get on there? It wasn't specifically romantic stuff, or like it was all like all different types of laws and stuff.
All different types, yeah. So it was just like it was a program called Street Law. When we were in Blackhall, and you could go to like what they call deaf schools or underprivileged schools to give them like lectures in law and trying to pique their interest in possibly a career in law. But I saw my old school on the list and I was like, oh, my old school was a bit of a shithole. I want to go back.
And so you went back to your old school?
So I went back to my old school and it was really nice coming back like 10 or 13 years later being like, I was in that seat. That's my old history class.
That's
maybe
mad.
I'll be able to like make an impact on these girls.
Yeah.
They didn't give a shite that I went to that old school. Like they were just looking at me like I had 10 heads.
Yeah.
But me there being like, I'm going to make an impact on these teenagers.
I just think it's gas that you're a solicitor and a comedian as well. And we're going to wrap this up shortly. But the comedy circuit, say, for dating, what is your experience there now? Because I've heard some crazy stories about dirty bastards in the comedy scene. Like, a lot of older men, younger women doing this kind of mentoring type of thing, but then they're sliding in, you know, they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
They're doing it out of the goodness of getting a leg over. I am very grateful that I haven't experienced that. I haven't been victim to any predatory men in comedy.
Very good.
However, I have had, like, say I'd be chatting to somebody and other comedians were like, oh, did he make a move on you? And I'd be like, what? No. And
Because
like,
other people knew what he was like.
and they'd be like, oh, he loves girls in their 30s now. And I'd be like, oh, okay. And then part of me is like maybe a bit offended because I was like, sorry,
Why
am I not hot
didn't
enough?
he? Why not me?
Yeah. No, but I've been very lucky that, but like I definitely have heard, you know, situations like that.
It's so funny because I used to go to a good few gigs in town. Yours is Crash and Burn?
This is the Paddy Power one.
The Paddy Power when you're on the Crash and Burn
in the Crash and Burn
stage.
lineup. Yeah.
Like I would have went and like I used to always kind of think, oh, like this is so wholesome. Look at these people, like, you know, they must be all great pals, all
Like
having
the
a laugh.
comedians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you hear then about the sordid
know.
underbelly of comedy.
Sordid underbelly. The comedy scene is amazing, and it's the most welcoming, open door scene I have ever got into in my whole life. And like, I find sometimes with the arts, people can be a little bit competitive or a little bit like, oh, I'm going to not tell people about this opportunity, or I'm not going to whatever.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
No, everyone's trying to help each other too.
Everyone's like, message this person about this gig. Have you thought about this competition? What about this application form? Like, everyone is so lovely.
Yeah.
And it's really lovely. But like, I think you meet seedy men everywhere. Like, there's ones in the music scene. There's ones in the
that's
action
true
scene.
as well, yeah.
Like, I don't think
Can't escape them. You can't escape.
I don't think it's specific to comedy. I think it's just
There,
men.
yeah. And what do you think about now giving up the soliciting? I was going to say, what is it called? What is it called?
That
Giving
sounds
up
like
prostituting yourself. Giving up, like, as in giving up the law and then like doing comedy full time. Would that be something, or do you like these two kind of sides that you're?
Oh, look, I
juggling?
probably shouldn't say this on a podcast. I would love to be a comedian full time. Like,
cool.
that would be
Yeah.
my dream come true. It's just, how do you make that work financially? How do you make that, like, I don't know, you know?
No, I know. Like how you need to get to a certain point, but before you get to that point, you're killing yourself.
Yeah.
To get to do your two jobs at the one time. No, I
Yeah.
know.
But like, I don't know, maybe I'll make a wish
knows?
somewhere.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much. You're a star. This has all been very interesting. I love that. They're like two totally, what did you call yourself?
Hannah Montana. Hannah Montana of
Excellent.
the comedy world, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
That's it. That was Justine Halpin. What an interesting woman. Between her work as a solicitor and her life as a comedian, she brings a kind of unique perspective to dating and relationships. We covered everything from bad dates and red flags to coercive control, Jennie's law, and some of the legal realities of relationships that most of us probably never think about until we are faced with them ourselves. Thanks a million for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a follow, leave a review, or send it to a pal. Next week is a subscriber-only episode where I'll be catching up with one of the couples that I've recently match-made to find out whether their date was a success. Slán Abhaile.
This show is part of the HeadStuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with HeadStuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.